All right, let's start, guys. Let's start. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Cantor, MSYSA president, and welcome everybody to our bi-monthly webinar that we hold. Just a couple quick guidelines. Please listen in the mute mode so that we don't hear loud noises when our guest speakers are talking. Use the chat feature if you have any questions and if you don't want to ask directly. And if you do ask directly, please be respectful and announce yourself and your affiliation before you speak. So with that being said, I just want to say again, welcome. We really enjoy these webinars. We think based on the feedback that we've gotten across the state, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about the connection that the state association has made with our affiliates over the COVID pandemic. And, you know, as always, we try to bring soccer-oriented guest speakers to give a little spark to these webinars and some additional information. It's always good to, you know, we're always appreciative of people like our guest speakers taking the time out of their day to spend an hour with us, you know, talking about the sport that we're all, crazy about, which is soccer. So wanted to say that our executive director is out today. She want to wish her well wishes. She had a small little procedure on her eye and she's resting, and I want to send her wishes for a speedy recovery. And Nathan Meadows, our operations manager, is on the taking over today in her spot. So today, it appears, based on the state association's research, that, you know, things are slowly getting better over this COVID. I mean, I know we still have an uphill battle, but, you know, we finally got over the mask issue, and there are a lot of teams that are back out playing and training. We did have a club that had a major setback with some COVID breakouts, and we're sending them our best wishes to hope that they can straighten that out. You know, that's the challenge that we all face when we open up. There's always that chance that an outbreak could happen with a club. And it really is a bad omen, because we're all trying to climb out of this terrible pandemic, and you take 2 or 3 steps forward, and then you get knocked back down when something like that happens, when a little breakout of a club. But so anyway, welcome everybody again, and I'd like to introduce 2 gentlemen that are on that were kind enough to take time out of their day to discuss the academy with us. We have Dave Sanford and Gus Tarrant. Dave is the academy director, and Gus is the technical director. And they agreed to talk a little bit today about the academy and where we're going, and answer any questions that you guys might have out there. So go ahead, Dave, if you want to start out.
No, perfect. Thanks for having us on, and I'll look to try to go ahead and bring up a screen for our presentation that we've prepared to try to hopefully be a catalyst for some dialogue. We want it to be relatively informal. If you guys have any questions, like Mark said, hit the chat function, come off of mute, and let's talk about things that you all are interested in. But after speaking with Alan and Dan yesterday, we tried to create a deck that we felt would be relevant to everybody on the call, and some things that are interesting to you guys. So without further ado, I'll just kind of go through that. I've already done my little objective here, and again, just want to tell you guys a little bit about what we're up to, and again, just learn from each other the best we can. We don't definitely think we have this whole thing figured out, so it's nice to get on a call with some other experts in the space. As Mark said, these are, Gus and I are the 2, so we've already done the intro, so thanks for that. The one thing that's recent for us, and probably a long time coming, looking back, you know, a lot of you all have been involved in this space for many, many years. That myself as an academy director and Gus as a leader as well have been working hard to become fully funded. So, you know, we finally arrived to that moment. If you look back, this on the left-hand side is a slide from last year's orientation with parents, and, you know, talking about Griffin and his progression through the academy. You know, we're really proud of that. It was an objective to become fully funded. We're now, you know, put a check in that box, and we're still working to have a facility in regard with Events DC over at the RFK space. We want to remain in the city. You know, so we're kind of ticking boxes and moving along as the organization has into our new stadium, Audi Field, in the last few months. Just a quick mission so everybody understands the lens of how we look and how we look to make decisions, what guides our decision making. That's, you know, to develop our objective of developing players for the first team. Obviously, you know, within that, some of the pillars is to be involved in the soccer community and take time out and try to, you know, extend value to local clubs like ones on this call. And that's very, very important to us. And we to be honest, we need to do a better job of it. And, you know, kudos to Dan Giffen and, you know, making these things come together. We're trying to do a better job of getting out into the community with our updated structure, which we'll discuss. I'll turn it over to Gus here just to talk a little bit about the pro pathway, so everybody has an understanding of what the latest updates are there.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Good morning, everyone, and again, thanks to Dan and Mark for having us on and setting this up. But to allude or to elaborate further on what Dave just mentioned, so we're really proud that we finally have a complete pathway to professional soccer. You know, during, I think, both my time at the club as well as Dave's, we've always missed a rung in that ladder to professional soccer and that pathway to the first team. So we're really excited. We're in our second year, or just finishing up our second year with Loudoun United, our USL affiliate club. And there's a really strong connection between our academy, USL, and the first team. So frequently, we're looking to see which players are ready to be battle tested at the USL level. And then within that, from the USL, which guys are then ready to be implemented in training with the first team and you know, have a new head coach now and that respective staff start looking at those players for potential integration. So within our own environment on a day-to-day basis, it's always merit-based. So we have a plethora of criteria that we make sure that the players are adhering to. And then Dave, myself, as well as our coaching staff are constantly evaluating, the players and their ability to meet those criteria to be considered for training opportunities with Loudoun United. Within that, you know, if Ryan Martin, the head coach, you know, needs a center back, and we have some center backs that are in good form, then we'll certainly pass them up the ladder and integrate them in that environment. But at the end of the day, it's between Dave, myself, and then you know, our general manager, Dave Casper, as well as the club's technical director, Stuart Mayers, having these conversations with Ryan, the head coach at Loudoun, to figure out what makes sense for players to transition into Loudoun. You can see here, we do have some recent success within our academy in developing players for the first team. So Griffin Yao, who is a 2002, Moses Nyman, a 2003, and Kevin Paredes is also a 2003 birth year, are our most recent examples of players who have come through our academy. I think all three players, yes, they've signed homegrown contracts, but Loudoun United has been really instrumental in their development and allowing them to get match minutes with bona fide professionals, but again, at a slightly different level. And of course, due to COVID, all three of these guys, if you guys have been following our first team, have started to get an extended run within the first team. Moses has started 3 consecutive games. Kevin went on a string of 7, and I think Griffin's on 2 to 3 consecutive matches as well. So all three featured the other evening, and the team's lost to New York City.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I think we'd be, you know, remiss to not mention Ben. Obviously, he's not in the role anymore, but he was nothing but an open door policy for us as a staff, as well as for the players. So, you know, I think, you know, with the vision of the club, we'll continue to have that open door policy moving forward, and something we're really excited about as we go. The recent integration can go a step further, you know, with Jacob Green and Jeremy Garay, 2 young players. Jacob's based out of a Maryland kid. They've been in the environment for the last month, so they're on their last really leg here. You know, Jacob is committed to Maryland, Jeremy's committed to UVA. and they're looking to make that final decision on whether they'll get offered a contract or not. Within that, it was a few weeks ago, but we played New England Revolution and Hartford Athletic in the same night, and we had 15 players active between the two teams. So Gus and I, we had the dual screens going, watching both games simultaneously. So we're really proud that we're fully funded. We're seeing a proof of concept, and things are moving in the right direction as far as player development. And we hope that opens the door further for affiliate clubs and directors in the region to say, hey, wow, this is a real opportunity. If I have a top kid, I should try to get in touch with DC United, because they're really trying to do it right over there. I'll turn it over to Gus to kind of speak to MLS Next, and with the DA shifting, kind of what the soccer landscape is trending towards. But obviously, with COVID, there's still going to be many changes and challenges over the next few months.
Thanks, Dave. So as I'm sure you're all really well aware of at this point in time, the DA has folded. It's no longer in existence, and the MLS has stepped into the space and created what they're now terminizing as the MLS Next, so the new youth development platform. In our current setup, we have 3 teams. So we have our U15 team, which is 2006's, a U16 team, which is 2005's, and then our U17 team, which is 2004's. So where we stand currently within the platform is both our U15s and our U17s participate in this platform. Our U16s do not, just due to I think historical past and the way that U.S. soccer didn't really recognize this specific age category. It's been a balancing act for Dave and I to figure out the right avenue for this group to perform and compete on. So essentially what we're doing is going off the way that the 15s and the 17s are organized as far as schedule is concerned, and then some select events here and there just to ensure that they're getting competitive and meaningful games. So within the platform, I believe at this point in time, there's 95 clubs nationwide that are participating. And I'll speak to it here in a minute, but there's essentially 2 different pathways which aren't necessarily clear at this point in time due to COVID, but there's an elite player pathway and a pro player pathway. However, in our region, there's been some new additions to clubs who might not have been in the DA in the past, but now who have decided to join this new development platform in Springfield Youth Club, Alexandria, as well as Achilles. So those 3 clubs will participate in the U13 and U14 age categories. But again, a really exciting time, I think, for the region to have 3 more clubs competing in this platform. Due to COVID, the league is in a bit of a transition period. So because the DA quickly went out of existence and MLS Next stepped in, they're trying to keep the framework very similar to that of what the DA was, I think, for operational and logistics purposes. Because there's a lot of uncertainty, they just want to make sure that, again, there's a competitive platform for all teams involved, but then again, that there's not a ton of new rules and procedures and protocols that have to be adhered to. So that's essentially where we are at this current point in time. I think as hopefully in time there's a vaccine that comes out and leadership within the country becomes a little bit clearer, and COVID starts to come to the end, the league platform will transition into 2 different pathways. So the pro player pathway will be MLS clubs at the 15s and 17s age category, where there'll be an MLS only as well as an international competition. And then non-MLS clubs will play in an elite player pathway, which is more focused on driving players into the college system, as well as providing competition with other top non-MLS clubs in the country. Within all of this, they've created 5 different buckets just to ensure that they're being really complete as far as trying to hit really specific targets within youth development. So I'm going to bring Dave back in and he'll speak to it. But Dave essentially is sitting on one of these committees within Talent ID, where himself, as well as several other directors from the rest of the country, both MLS and non-MLS clubs, come together to try to meet some objectives within these different buckets. Dave?
Yeah, no, it's been a fun process trying to pilot this thing and be hands-on with the league, but also with other amateur clubs. I think it's the first time where in my time that we're all kind of getting the same room and, respecting our differences, but, looking through the lens of player development and putting players first. So the league is now, gone through this governing structure where everybody kind of has a voice, regardless of the club. Now within that, it goes into the working groups, which is second to the executive committee. And I sit on the talent ID committee, and it's, myself alongside Austin FC, and then Shattuck St. Mary's is on the call. Silicon Valley is on the call. Seacoast United is on the call. So you get the amateur clubs as well as an MLS club all having a voice on talent ID and how to move the game forward. That's respective to everybody's interest. Obviously, it's an MLS, run league, and we want to push players, through the professional pathway. That's a big piece of it. But, everybody's kind of coming together and realizing that, maybe it's not about the club anymore, about the coach holding back a player so that club is relevant or that coach is relevant. It's saying, if I have a special player, we feel it's in the best interest of the soccer in this country to move them onto a better platform for exposure. That's just different. A quick story: we had a player transition this season to us from a partner club. He's a good player, he's center back. And within the first week, the national team's like, "Who is this kid?" and asking about him. Like, yeah, and I explained the story. And then next, Georgetown's called, and then next, an agent's involved and asking questions. And it's a credit to us as a platform, but it's, there's a lot of good people doing good work. And this kid is, being evaluated in a much different lens simply because of the jersey that he has on. And that's just kind of the reality of where we are right now with soccer in this country and identification. But, back to the framework, everybody has a voice. There's groups they're working through everything and trying to do more for the elite clubs and making sure they feel just as part of the process as an MLS club does. And I think it's a good segue into, this call and state associations is the vision for ODP and how to strengthen, our ties to that program, as well as state associations and what their involvement is. I think in the DA, the federation more or less felt like they had it under control, and, they still, for better or worse, they have, one scout that's overseeing, Virginia to Maine. And that's just a lot of area to cover when it comes to scouting players. So they want to invest in this space and expand the reach for talent identification, involve the state associations from a scouting perspective, and then create a feeder system, obviously, that feeds into, the MLS run league to benefit the player. So it may not, benefit DC United, but if there's a Maryland-based club that's inside of MLS Next, then, they can help be a part of the, the recruiting process from a grassroots level, which is, is critical, especially in this region, but, finding kids in untapped areas. And they're looking to, the league is looking to expand to Kentucky, Vegas, Michigan, and try to hit some of these other markets, to make the country a much stronger, platform for youth development. When you talk about exposure in the international stage, Brian Kao was a player that we lost to Germany, but he was in with the full national team and still continues to be. We have, 20 plus players currently in the youth national team setup. For every game we've played this year, pretty much, Gus, correct me if I'm wrong, there's been a, national team scout there. They're laser focused on, MLS academies. It helps filter for them, as there's a lot of soccer to cover. I know they're starting to go to other leagues and ECNL games and matches of that, but they really do highlight the MLS academies because it makes their job a little bit easier. Within that, Greg Berhalter did come out publicly on something we're proud about, a little soundbite, praising Kevin, Moses, and Griff on their work within the first team. So again, it's Kevin Paredes came to us at age 14 from Loudon Soccer. Griffin Yao came to us from BDA and then, more from Springfield Youth Club. But Griffin was in our setup for, about a year and a half, and he was already on a professional stage. So things can happen quick. And then there's Moses, who's been with us since, age 12. So there's different types of stories and journeys for players to help reach their goals of becoming a professional soccer player. And, again, we humbly provide the platform. And, you know, like I said at the beginning of the call, we really want to do a better job of being in touch with affiliates and players outside of our network to say, hey, you know, this is a special kid. Let's call DC United and help these players get to where they need to be to achieve, you know, their dreams. I'll turn it over to Gus here now for kind of just, you know, after speaking with Alan yesterday, the homegrown territory and like what our recruiting process is and how it all plays into to give everybody some context.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So I think in my experience in talking to a lot of people involved in youth soccer within our region, there's not a lot of clarity as far as what our homegrown territory consists of and what the rules are necessarily. So I'll try to be brief and provide a little insight there. However, in short, you know, within our territory, which is a 75-mile radius from Audi Field, you know, we're essentially looking through this region to find players to come and, you know, essentially starting at the grassroots level, you know, whether it's with an affiliate club or coming to us a little bit later, get on a professional path to professional soccer. So we essentially we have a program called P2P, which is short for Pathway to the Pros. So we have 6 clubs, Dave. We have 6 clubs that are premier P2P member clubs, and essentially within that program, we run 1 session a month with top players from some of their U13, 14 age categories, where our academy staff runs sessions, and it gives us the ability to work hands-on with the players to get a really clear sense of their playing qualities and if it is going to be a fit for them within our U15 age categories moving forward. Within that, we also have a lot of relationships with clubs in the area, so we're constantly leaning on our affiliate clubs to provide talent ID and talent selection for our academy long term.
Do you guys have a list of the 6 clubs that you're referenced to?
Yeah, so those would be Alexandria, Arlington, PPA and Bethesda, VDA, Pipeline, and did I miss one? Loudon Soccer, yeah. So those are our 6 P2P clubs, and then I couldn't rattle off our affiliate club list. Dave would be more proficient at that. However, we do have upwards of 15 to 20 affiliate clubs that are not part of our P2P network that we do rely and lean on as far as player identification is concerned. So I think in short, you know, we are not Philadelphia Union. We don't have all the bells and whistles and resources that, you know, our close neighbor up 95 does have. However, Dave and I do try to be very diligent in leaning on our P2P network as well as our affiliate clubs, you know, to try to highlight, you know, some of the top players that they do have in their academies and, you know, be very thorough in evaluating their player qualities for, you know, potential integration within our academy.
No, I think I'll just add, you know, P2P was created not just by DC United. It was, you know, those clubs kind of coming to us and saying, hey, let's improve the level of communication. You know, let's stop worrying about, you know, the transition of an 11, 12-year-old kid into DC United. Let's all get along in some ways and improve the lines of communication and from a technical perspective, but also a player identification perspective. And we felt it's brought a lot of stability to our marketplace and, you know, a lot of stability to our relationships with local clubs. So it's really gone better than we probably anticipated. And we've downsized in teams. You know, we used to have U12, 13, 14, and they're kind of, you know, allowing us to bring DC United to those communities. So you look at the map, there's a lot going on as far as partners, and we're trying to bring DC United to them to make it easier. And then at age 13, 14, then they start to make a commitment to drive into the city, be a part of it. And then again, they'll always be able to come in. You know, Kevin Paredes at age 14 was training twice with us and twice with Loudon. So, you know, we'll put together a plan that makes the most sense for the family and the player and get them integrated and help them go through the pathway. But again, it's a commitment, and it's not easy to produce a pro. We do put more players in college, but you know, for those kids that want something more and those families that want something more in your club, you know, we would hope you guys would keep us in mind. So the segue is as well, you know, as Gus said, we have the affiliate network, and MLS is also creating a youth affiliate network. So everybody's kind of doubling down in this space when it comes to Major League Soccer and the shift. What we've created now is similar to P2P, but, you know, less, instead of monthly, it's more quarterly, and having those check-ins. So we created 4 buckets. You know, one is, you know, the quarterly communication, the talent identification piece, you know, either hosting a talent ID center at a respective club or coming to us. The club engagement piece, which Dan and his team is a massive piece of the organization. We would, again, using the word remiss, not to include, you know, fan experience and, you know, all the opportunities that we can have with Zoom calls now with first team players and inspiring activities that our club can provide for, you know, an entire club. And then the last piece is education, you know, attending our training and hosting a winter workshop and just trying to say, all right, what's important to you as a club? What's important to us? Can we come together and create a program? And we feel that we've done that, and we're excited to, you know, launch it. It's really in its infancy right now, as we've created it over the last few months, and COVID kind of put us a little bit of a roadblock as everybody's just trying to get back out to the field safely. So just to take the annual plan in list form, again, you know, we have the quarterly calls. You know, Jake Lucas is the manager of the ticketing team, and he's engaged there. And then Talent ID, hosting quarterly talent identification centers. So, you know, when DC United doesn't want to conflict with you, it's not just a la carte. If you got a player, send a player. It's like, no. And in September, they're going to have something for me. In November, they're going to have something for me. And we can all plan around it and say, you know, if Joey's really trending well right now, DC United's going to have something in November for him to come over and play if he's a U13 or U14 player and get that exposure, but also a little bit of inspiration and an added club value for them. And then if it all makes sense, then let's have that discussion to transition a player. At the end of the day, right now, we only have 65 players in our academy. It's a small, intimate training environment with like-minded players that we feel we're going to do a bang-up job when they enter, and hopefully they'll sign pro. If they don't sign pro, then they're committed to a college by the time they exit and recycle back in for a U19 age category. But again, that hopefully, you know, sums it up briefly about what we're about on
your box says Madison on it. Colton, your box says Colton on it. Colton, that says Madison. Colton starts with a C.
Mark?
Could we get that person muted, please?
Yeah, I'm trying.
No problem. I love it. So just, you know, adding, you know, taking through the lens of how we're going to operate on annual plan. We've always just been, like I said, a la carte, but we really want to help develop clubs in the region and be leaders in that space. Again, looking at the player first, then looking at the team and how we can help with that events. I think, you know, this MLS Youth Affiliate Network, Generation Adidas Cup, is something that's going to be expanded when the time is right. Again, everything's a little bit in the holding pattern through the COVID. And the last piece is the coach, right? And making sure, you know, if coaches are interested to come see a first team training session, we can coordinate that, no problem. If they're interested in popping by a training session, you know, they're always welcome. And then we'd like to get into a position when it's safe to do so is host an event at Audi Field free of charge, you know, where clubs can come in, and maybe it's not just, you know, Gus and I doing a quick presentation, but if there's a MSYSA club that, you know, maybe it's a Maryland United in Collin, and, you know, he wants to pop up on the screen something they're doing special, you know, and everybody can collaborate and just create a really a unique environment, and bringing more club directors together through DC United versus always kind of it's in MLS. We always say we're partners off the field and competitors on the field. And I think that's something that we can do a better job of in the community. You know, when it comes to player development, we're talking about kids and helping them achieve their goals. And we just have a special platform for them. And we hope people would, you know, continue to grow the mindset of keeping us involved in a top player's journey versus, you know, trying to hold them on to win a state cup, which there's value in both. But, you know, ultimately, I think if you ask a player or a family if they want to win a state cup or maybe try to become professional, they would say, can I do both? Okay, yeah, you probably could with DC United, but ultimately, you know, they probably want to try to get on a track to achieve that dream if it makes sense for them. But That's kind of all we had. I know we didn't get any questions and just one interruption, so that's pretty good, Mark, from some of the calls I've been on.
No, that was great. What was that interruption? Because I didn't get it.
But we're happy to take any questions.
Anybody have any questions? We have one. Dan, go ahead.
Yes. This one, someone sent me a note on the side. Like, let's say, for example, we have a player who's in the Philly Union Academy, but wants to come play for DC United because, Maryland, we've got a lot of states, right, close by. And we kind of talked about that, yesterday. What are the rules for something like that? If we have a player that wants to move, let's say, from Philly Union, but want to come to DC United?
Yeah, look, it happens all the time. Gus, I think we placed one boy in New York Red Bulls last year. His family was moving, 2 kids. Yeah, so we'll move kids. Again, we're talking about children, right? At the end of the day, and doing what's right for them. The rules are, kind of director to director inside MLS. Tommy, I would call Tommy and say, hey, a Philly kid reached out. What's the process? Can they come train? We actually had this happen last year, and we had the player down. So, ultimately, there are some homegrown rights depending on the age category and some kinks to be worked out. If it's something where the club is supportive or the player's disgruntled, there's a lot of different factors. But at the end of the day, this is youth development. I think you look through a very much a perspective of it's cutthroat and we're all after this, really hard objective of producing pros. But then there's, the human element where, I think you'll find character in the room when it comes to Major League Soccer and dealing with youth in their development pathway. And we'll ultimately do what's best interest for the kids. And look, it's no secret that there's flight risk involved. We've lost kids to Germany. We've also supported kids going to Germany, through the years. And some we're happy that they're continuing to trend well because we just at that time weren't in a position to sign them. And then there's others that got away, and that's the reality of the business. But oftentimes you hear more about the ones that got away versus the ones that are actually in. And that's just the reality of the press and journalists these days.
Okay, any other questions for Dave?
Hey, Dave. Yeah, sorry, Mark. Just a quick one. What does a typical week look like for you? I mean, obviously, probably not typical right now with everything that's going on, but both for the players and the coaches, what's a typical week look like?
Can you identify yourself, please?
Alan Lydiate, MSYSA.
That's a great one. Look, I'll let Gus answer as well, but just quick schedule wise, we're 4 nights a week. Usually, we'll give the older groups Monday night off, just coming off the weekend, and that's very much in line with the first team. And they'll train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Gus has his different targets, physically and tactically for the coaches on those days. And he can dive into the weeds if he would like there. And then, as a coach and, as a staff, we have two formal meetings a week. Tuesdays are all staff meeting, which is, technical based, but also organizational based, just operations. And we try to work in 2-week blocks there. And then Thursday's a technical meeting where, we're asking, questions of each other, either on a board or, now it's, watching film and things of that nature. It's been made a little bit more difficult. We'll talk about, different players and be more soccer focused on Thursday. So Gus can dive much deeper, probably could do a whole presentation on that. But if I missed anything that you think is worth a highlight, Gus, maybe a film session and things of those things that we're maybe doing a little bit.
I got a text message that Gus went to lunch.
I am hungry. To be honest with you.
He's always hungry.
I think, probably worth mentioning, we have HPP, so high potential players within each of our age categories. And we have something that we call EPQs, elite player qualities. So myself, as well as the rest of our staff, we meet and we identify, all right, who are the high potential players within each age category, within each birth year, and then highlight the specific, essentially a primary quality as well as a secondary quality that they need to refine. So we'll work for 4 weeks on that primary quality with the player, and then we'll rotate that second quality in for the next 4-week cycle to hit that quality as the primary quality, and then bring in a secondary, which might have been a tertiary target. So we do EPQ training, as we call it, with our HPPs twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is before their scheduled training time. So all of our staff, whether I'm the 17s coach and we have our 15 HPPs coming in, I may help with them. Dave comes in and works with our 16s on Thursday. So, we try to devote special attention to the guys that we feel have the most potential to become pros, and ensure at the end of the day we're leaving no stone unturned where their qualities are concerned, and try to be diligent in making sure that they're well-rounded. So when they get to Loudon, when they get to the first team, they have the tools to adapt and problem solve and find success within those environments.
We have a question on the chat line. Does DC United have any relationships with the Maryland and or Virginia ODP programs?
Yeah, so I not in a formal way. Obviously, we know Alan, and we know Gordon Miller, and some of these guys that have been long time standing of it. We hope to build those relationships with this new setup, like on the ODP slide, but it's a work in progress where MLS wants to invest with USYS in the ODP system and help promote it to help again, that talent identification piece. We're a massive country and unique in that way, where there's a lot of untapped areas for us to try to take advantage of, as a league and as state associations to improve the work that we're doing. So nothing on the docket yet, but it's a work in progress.
All right, next question is, who did you think won the vice president debate on Wednesday night?
I was watching soccer that night, so I didn't see it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions,
Dave, I'll go with one more. Just how much in terms of first of all, how long do your coaches stay with an age group, and then what are the sort of commonalities of, or should I say, how do you create that sort of timeline from the younger age groups? Younger age groups to the older age groups. What are the consistencies, or how do you tie that in, from age to age to make sure that they continue to develop?
Yeah, Josh, you want to take that, or you want me to?
I would love to take it. No, it's a great question, Alan. I think when we had younger age categories, so as Dave mentioned earlier, we used to have U11s all the way up to U19s. In the younger age categories, it was more of our foundation phase. So it's trying to ensure that we have the technical proficiencies, relevant within each one of the positions that lines up with our player profiles, to ensure that, the players have the tools, to pass and receive at the speed of the game, to have some level of spatial awareness. Then, we move them up into the next phase, which is kind of our 14s, 15s, where now it's kind of our identity phase. So we start to build relationships with that player in a primary position on a line. The tactical acuity starts to become a little bit more important. What are their roles in the different moments of the games? And then as you get into the older age categories, it turns into our competitive phase. Within all of that, I think at one point in time, we had some coaches that were, more devoted to the younger age categories, 11s, 12s. That coach that we had actually, left and is now at Miami FC. And that's just his passion. And, he really enjoys coaching that age category. I've coached as low as our 13s. I've coached at the USL level. I'm currently our 17s head coach. So I think part of that is, myself and Dave, we have the conversation and we try to look at each coach and say, okay, where do their strengths lie? Where do their weaknesses lie? What age category makes the most sense? And then it's my job as the technical director to say, okay, hey, here are your strengths. Dave Sanford is a U14 head coach. You've expressed to me in your PDP, your personal development plan, that you want to coach older age categories. And then I work with that coach and in his personal development plan to try to guide him and, hit some of those areas that he feels he needs to improve on, that I feel he needs to improve on, so that, maybe next year he can make the step up to our 15s. Of course, it's never as easy as all of that. There's a lot of other, factors that come into play. And, Coaches come and go and constantly have their eyes on different jobs. But, I think at the end of the day, there's 17 plus years of experience between Dave and I at DC United. There's pretty good continuity with us in this project. So, we have a really good sense of the targets that we want to hit and how we want to move players through the different phases. And within our P2P and our affiliate clubs, we know the coaches and the leaders within each of those clubs really well, and we're trusting those clubs at the younger age categories to develop the qualities that we value at our club at a high level, knowing that when KP and Kevin Paredes and when Griffin get to our club, that now it's trying to increase the level of competitiveness and teach them how to perform in different systems and amongst different lines within the field. If that answers your question.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Just sorry, Gus, just off of that, you mentioned there the formations and kind of being variable and changing systems and stuff. So is there a central theme in terms of your style of play, though? And does that come from the first team still?
No, there is so we primarily play in a 4-3-3. Me as the 17s coach, we don't have a 19s team anymore, but our 17s and our 19s, right? From moving in our younger age categories to the older age categories, the lens immediately has to change from, player development is really important, but now the guys have to learn how to start winning games because at the end of the day, that's how they're going to be judged. And, Loudon and the first team, they want players that have good qualities, but they want winners at the end of the day. So we play a 4-3-3, and in the older age categories, depending on the problem that the opponent poses, we'll tweak the formation a little bit, but we're pretty consistent within that. And then with the younger age categories, it's a 4-3-3, and we feel that it allows for autonomy of the players. It sets up 1-versus-1 duels. The system provides a lot of different areas for players to be exposed and for you to get a really clear sense of what they're capable of in the different moments of the game.
Awesome.
All right, thanks. Guys, we're running way behind on our webinar because you guys have so much information that's really important, and we really appreciated hearing everything. We definitely want to invite you back for another visit in one of our webinars because it's really interesting, and I want to kind of see how the progression goes throughout the next couple months, and maybe come back and report about the players and the teams and the expansion of the whole program. So once again, thanks for spending time with us. Alan's going to buy you lunch next week on Alan. On
the state credit card.
And really, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, guys, thanks for having us on. It was fun.
Yeah, it's great. We'll definitely do it again.
Thanks, gents.
All right, thanks, guys. Okay, so next, I know everybody's been waiting for this. We've been waiting for an hour to hear him. Alan Lydiate is going to do his bi-monthly report. Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, sorry, not that. Well, luckily, I'm not going to keep you for an hour, so that's why I was asking all the questions. Really, for me, the biggest thing that I needed to address is there've been lots of changes on the D-license curriculum. Again, we're trying to get 2 D courses finished that started way back in the early part of the year. They'll be completed hopefully in November. But primarily US soccer coaching education is now shifting to a blended format for the future. So they're changing the curriculum on the D course, which means that we probably won't be providing any D courses until after March of 2021. There are 3 different curriculums right now. One is the old one, which has to be complete by March. The other one is a new sort of blended approach, which was kind of, I guess, a rushed version. And then there'll be a new curriculum that's finalized early March in 2021 and released. So we're kind of working towards that. So we hope to have the D courses available again. But I feel at this point, we've got to train the staff and, deal with the new sort of technology and the issues that's going to cause and pilot the course and things like that. So we're hoping by March 2021, we'll have the new D license blended courses available. Again, Return to Learn, we're all open for coaching education. So the grassroots in person, 4-hour modules have been moved to a blended version. Again, those are available. The primary aspect is we have to do an in-person 2-hour field session. There's a 2-hour Zoom call prior to the course that the candidates must attend, but then a 2-hour field session, and that obviously is in all formats, whether it be 7v7, 9v9, 11v11, or 4v4. Sorry. So, obviously as clubs, if you're looking for opportunities to provide coaching education, I think there's still some hesitation. Obviously, there's no classroom, which helps. We do need to utilize players if we can, just because the courses are very experiential. And so to get the best out of those courses, we're looking at those opportunities. So we have been providing the grassroots, and I just kind of want to give a quick update as to the grassroots curriculum that we've been sending out. We've had quite a positive response so far. We're going to be making a couple of changes. We're going to add in there the training session manual that we provide on the course. It's basically a step-by-step guide, which will, can really help for your sort of entry-level parent coaches, especially at the recreational level. Just get an understanding of, how to coach through each of the phases. In terms of the play, practice, play methodology. So that will be added to the weekly newsletter. And give us, if you can, just if you've been utilizing it or if you haven't been receiving it, please reach out to me on WhatsApp or, but also just give us a little bit of feedback. Have you been utilizing it as a club? Are you sending it out individually as well, or you're just relying on your coaches receiving it from MSYSA? So that's pretty much it from me right now. In terms of coaching education, I'm looking forward, obviously, November, December, January, that's our busiest time in terms of coaching ed. But obviously it takes a little bit of time to get set up, get it publicized, and then obviously, be able to provide the courses. So, reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, the host of course information is on the MSYSA website. Look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you, Alan. Is Bill Heiser on the call by any chance? Bill, are you on? Because I didn't see his name listed.
Nope, doesn't look like he's on.
Okay, so we had our second rec affiliate meeting this week. Believe it or not, there's more people that are on that call that are on this call, because rec has become a monster issue for all of us. There's a lot of people across the state that are joining together with us to make a huge improvement with recreation. Not only existing rec clubs and existing rec players, but the rec player that's lost out there that we haven't connected with, whether that's underserved, whatever the situation may be, we want to reach out to that. So it's kind of like twofold. One is existing rec programs, rec assistance. We want to hear from our rec affiliates. This committee that we're forming is a think tank of ideas of what we can do as a state, what we can do as a state association that work together to make things better, to help us help you guys better. So we're really excited. Bill Heiser's really doing a great job. He's just started with this. This is his first task as Vice President of Recreation. He's really excited about moving this forward and making some real change. So again, anybody who's interested in recreation, please join those webinars that we have. I think the next one's in 3 weeks from this week. So look for it. If you want to be involved and if you want to get the link, send the information to Nathan and he'll make sure you get listed on the link to participate in the next rec webinar. So,
Mark, can I just jump in there? Sorry, there's one thing I forgot to discuss. I just got a text message as a reminder on the C license. The C license was postponed, and so we're trying to create. We're moving to a blended course. I think I may have mentioned that in the last call. But what that means is obviously it's going to be primarily, online. However, we do need to provide one weekend where we need 2 turf fields with lights, and it's going to be a Saturday and Sunday for the in-person part of the course. We are currently trying to finalize those facilities. I'm hoping that that's going to be confirmed within the next few days. But that means that the in-person component of the course is going to be late February or possibly early March. We still need confirmation from USSF on that. We still need confirmation on the facilities, but we have definitely chosen now to move to a blended course where, just basically out of ease. And obviously we don't know what the winter is going to hold in terms of, COVID aspects. So we've definitely moved to a blended course, but we're still trying to finalize the facilities. So I hope to have that information confirmed and published by next Wednesday. We still do have a few spots available, and I'm guessing when I put that to the candidates, there may be 1 or 2 candidates that can't do that format or maybe can't attend those dates for the in-person. So once we've got all the information together, I'll probably release that by next Wednesday with regard to the C license. So that's it for me. Thanks, Mark.
thank you, Alan. So anyway, I think that's all we have for today. If anybody has any other questions, one concern that I have is, and it's not a huge concern, but when we first started these webinars, maybe 5 months ago, whatever, when the COVID first started becoming a major issue with all of us, we had over 100 people on the line. As the months went by, we started noticing that the participation has really dropped off. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's the content. I don't know if maybe the fear is not there anymore and people are getting back to some normalcy. I don't know if if anybody wants to send in any feedback to us, if you want to see anything different, or maybe that things are getting to be copacetic and the information we might have to go. I'm thinking about this. We might go to, based on the feedback, we might go to a monthly webinar instead of bi-monthly, because I think that we're having a big drop off. So I'm asking you, the people that are on this call, to maybe get other people involved that might want to call in and listen to what we have to report on a bi-monthly basis to see if we can gather up some more interest in the information that we're providing. Otherwise, go ahead, Dan.
I just, like I said, I think a lot of people, Mark, still like the 2 weeks. And then, but a lot of people are actually watching the recording. I don't know if you have any way of tracking that, but the people I've talked to, that's what I'm hearing, just to let you know.
Oh, that's good.
And then I just got, I had been, on a side note, I want to backtrack to Dave and Gus for a second. I wanted to make something clear to people as well. If you have a player, because everybody gets on eggshells, we're talking about 65 kids in the academy. I was able to take some of our 2001 kids, and over the last couple of years, they would go and train with the academy, a couple of them, and they were still part of OBGC. There's nothing that, that it gave them that opportunity to do that and kind of get on their radar. So they still belong to Olney. But, if you have a kid at X club, they wanted to see if they could train in the academy, they could either be dual carded, they could actually play up to 7 matches, and then they have to make a decision if they wanted to move, if it's a good fit either way or what have you. But, I think people need to understand that there is definitely, with these 2 guys, they have spearheaded a lot of good things for the academy here regionally, and in particular with us. And I think people need to look at that. We've had, and I know Pat's on this call. We've done some things like this with Colin and with Maryland United as well. And we've also conversely said, and they've done it for us at Olney, they had a player, he wasn't going to fit in there and get as much playing time. So they're looking at the long term for the player, and they sent him to a youth club. And I believe they've done that with Maryland United too. So Dave and Gus are really good people. They've cleaned up a lot of things. And we had a great call with Alan about ODP yesterday. So there's a lot of good stuff, and we're light years ahead of working with them. You know, I know they talked a little bit about Virginia. They've never done anything like this with Virginia again on a call. And I'm really excited about the stuff that they're going to bring to enhance and augment more for Maryland. And I'm going to mute myself, and that's it.
Well, I want to say to all of you again, thanks so much for always participating in these calls. Thanks for Dan for helping us hook up with Dave and Gus, because it was really, it was really good information. I only wish that more people across the state.
Yeah. Can I have a question?
Go ahead, Julio.
I mean, it's great that this United trying to, get involved with the youth soccer. My question, what about the poor kids? How are they going to help them? Are they going to help them with school because they have to travel to go and practice to United? Are they going to feed them? Are they going to transport them? Or it's only going to be for the wealthy kids again that they can afford and go and the dad can travel and take them to the practice and take them to the game? What about
having a hard time hearing you?
Hello?
Yeah, we're having a hard time hearing you.
I'll jump in there, Julio. I think I understand. I mean, that's the biggest challenge, right? I mean, I wish everything was free, and we can try and provide that. I know DC Academy has moved to certainly, the expenses are a lot less, but there's still obviously a burden of travel and things like that. That I think across the country, right, we're still, that's the strength is the weakness, right, and that's the size of the country, right. And so yes, we've got many players, but also we've got massive areas to cover, and so it creates a massive challenge, right. We're not, it is a pay to play model pretty much across the country, and it does it does create barriers, but there's lots of opportunities. And I think and that's where it comes back down to each individual coach and each individual club creating relationships that can remove those barriers however we can. We know at the grassroots level, in terms of, a lot of the clubs now provide scholarships in terms of, trying to support families and give them that opportunity. But it's also, it's got to continue throughout, right? And I think the connection, we always have to start somewhere, and we can always point the finger and say, well, this is why we don't produce players in this country, and this, but we have to be a part of the solution and not just, a part of the problem. So, and that's the initiative with ODP and, the new academy structure and creating those relationships. And it's the same for us as clubs, right? Is breaking these barriers, opening up the pathway, getting us in the same room, having those conversations and trying to break down a lot of these barriers, and I think it's down to each of us to do that. It's okay to be on the outside and just say, well, it's their fault because they don't do this and this, it's not that easy, and so I think everybody's working towards something, but we're all responsible for that. And I think the more that we can collaborate, the easier it gets, and the more obstacles we can remove. And that's how we make the game great, right? I mean, we're responsible for every professional player plays grassroots football. That's where they start, and that's what we have to be you know, that's our starting point. And we're responsible as coaches, we're responsible as club leaders to ensure not just those players that can go on to that level, but also the remaining players, right? Whether it's whatever level they play at, we have a responsibility to support them and provide opportunities for them along the way, and continue to grow the game. That's our goal, right? That's US Soccer's goal, is to make soccer the preeminent sport in America, you know, and so that's the challenge, and we're all part of that, you know, to make that happen. But yes, there's always red tape, there's always challenges that we have to get over, but collaboration is the key. That's the starting point, and hopefully we can work together to break those barriers and make it easier for, you know, for families and players to be able to get access to the top, you know. So that's really the answer, because there is no other answer, right? I mean, it's you know, it's very easy to say where we've been and criticize where we've been, but it's really about where are we going, and sticking together and trying to work together to make that happen. So,
Thanks for that answer, Alan.
Mark, one other thing. I think Julio asked about funding, and these guys pointed out tonight and for today, DC United is now fully funded, right? And he also said, I think, if I heard that correctly, about education. There are components that they do to aid kids with the time structure that they have. We've had that for years, going back to RFK. So I can tell you about that, but I would encourage you, Julio, to reach out to them. And if you want to get their contact info, I'll be happy to share that as well, if you can see it on the slide.
Thank you for all the help. Yeah, because I had some of the players that, you know, they're always trying to get to the next level. I even send it to all the clubs that they are better than us in terms of positioning, and I know they can get help and hopefully get at least a college. But there are some players that we have and the coach buys that I really believe they can play to the next level, but they don't have any help, and our club doesn't have really the means to try to help every single time. But thank you for the help. I will contact you. Thank you, everybody, for your response.
Perfect. All right, so I think if there's no other questions, we can end this webinar. What I was saying, and my final thoughts were that I really appreciate everyone who comes on every other week to help put this together, bring in, you know, help us find guest speakers. Please continue to do so. Dan was great helping us this week. We're going to have another one in 2 weeks. Sounds like we'll keep on the 2-week path. I'd like you guys to lobby a little bit and maybe get other people from other clubs, other affiliates, other soccer people to join in, because this is really good information. It's a solid hour to hour and a half of really good, positive information that's meant to help everyone in the state of Maryland. You know, from technical advice and support to, you know, CPA from the beginning. I remember we helped everyone try to get PP payroll protection help, constantly trying to keep going with different topics to keep us all positive until we get out of this pandemic. And I think the best thing about this whole webinar over the last 5 months was that I think we all connected as soccer people. You know, we kind of knew each other a little bit here and there, but we all realize now that we're all in it together. And the main thing is just continuing on, because there is light at the end of this tunnel. I could see it. It's actually happening. You guys have to see it. We got players on the fields now, which is something that wasn't happening a couple months ago. And when it did happen, some jurisdictions made us wear masks. So things are getting better. There will be some setbacks from here and there, but from this point on, we'll keep doing this, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll have another guest speaker for another angle on soccer. So till then, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Alan, thanks for all your help today.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys.